Okay, so now let's try to understand about this ML flow part. Okay, so that is basically the last part of our model training phase. Okay, so once you actually train your model, right? So there is two ways that while training your model, you basically want to see that how it is getting trained. Okay, then like how much compute it is actually taking, and after training, let's say that experiment by experiment, right? So for each training, you will be giving the experiment name so that later it is easy for you to just go and take a record of the model, okay, that which model at which particular date or time you have basically trained it, so that you can basically export it. Okay, so all these things will be done by the ML flow. So let me just go through the Ultralytics ML flow documentation. So this is basically the Ultralytics ML flow documentation. So they have actually like integrated the ML flow with their own set of libraries which we are going to use it now, right? So as you can see that ML flow components, so there are like you can actually do the tracking, you can actually like save the model artifact, there is a model registry as well, and there is the projects wise you can actually able to do it, right? So again, these are basically the feature that it is providing. So first of all, it is actually providing the metrics log. Okay, all this logging which is actually needed by training on and post training. Suppose you wanted to see any kind of a matrix, you can actually see that thing. Then there is a parametric logging and there is an artifact. Okay, setup is very simple. So first of all, let me go to the setup as well. Okay, so let me just open any IDE. Okay, so let me just clear this out. Let me first activate the environment, right? Let me first activate the environment. So what I do is that source, I know that because we have already done these things environment setup, right? So this I have set up the environment part, right? Now next what I need to do is that let's say that I need to install the ML flow. Okay, so for installing the ML flow, again I will refer to the documentation which is like this one, right? So in order to install the ML flow, first of all I will be installing the ML flow using a pip package, right? So let me go there and let me just do this, right? So what it will do is that inside my environment, it is basically like try to load the ML flow. Okay, after loading the ML flow, the one very important thing is that suppose if you are actually like training the model and everything is completely, let's say, offline, okay, and you wanted to like see the all these matrices and artifacts in your local system, right? So you need to first open the server, okay, to open the ML flow server into your local system. Okay, so in order to like initiate the server, you need to set up this command, which is this one. So this is basically the ML flow backend server. So it will try to load the ML flow server into your local system running at some particular port, okay, so that it becomes easy for you to trace down everything locally, right? So if I just go and just press it here, so as you can see that my ML flow server has been started at my local host with the port number of 5000. So if I go and click there, then this is my server where it is starting. So let me go there and follow the link, right? So let me open it in Chrome, right? If I go there here, so this is where my ML flow server has been started. Okay, as you can see that it has something called as experiment. So I will tell you each and every detail of about it, like what it is. Then the other thing is model and the other thing is like prompt. Okay, so before like losing the time, let me just go and try to open some other terminal. Okay, so that we can start building the or training the model. Okay, so again let me like do the environment part. Right, going to the same location, there I will going to run the ML flow. Okay, so as you can already aware, right, these things, right, that how to basically train the model, we have seen it in our collab implementation part, right? That how do we basically train the model. So we have like imported the model, okay, then like we have imported our pre-trained model, or let's say the post-trained model, we just wanted to give you the location, okay, and then we will all set for training part. Okay, and we have done the training in last lecture, like the entire lecture we have covered about how to train the YOLO model. Okay, so I think I'm not repeating that part. The next part which I'm supposed to tell you is that how do you basically integrate the ML flow, okay, in your training environment, okay, in your training code. So what you need to do is that from the Ultralytics, right, you just need to give few permissions so that whatever the model after training, you know, right, like post training, then my model is getting saved, right? So my model is getting saved in somewhere like ML artifact, right? So it is saved in two categories. So one is like best.pt and the other thing is like last.pt. So we have done, we know about these things, right? So we just need to give, let's say that I wanted to train my already post-trained model based on my custom data set. So last data set that I have taken is PP data set, right? I have labeled it, I have trained the YOLO pre-trained model, okay, on that PP data set, and now it is getting trained, okay, and it was trained and it was actually giving the good result, okay, and we have actually tested and we have inferenced it also, right? So these two models I have, right, post training, I have the best.pt, I have a last.pt, okay. Now let me train it one more time, okay, let me train it one more time just to show you that how after the integration of MLflow, so how does it basically behave, okay, how can I actually monitor my model, okay. So I will pick up the same thing, which means that I have picked up the base.pt model, okay, instead of pre-trained model I have picked up this model, right, .pt model, any .pt model will be survived here, right. Then again I will be training the model and I am going to give these things, right. So the first one is the same thing, right. I'm supposed to give my YAML file, right? So for now I am just training it for, let's say, 3 epochs, okay. Then this is my image dimension, okay. Then this is the batch I wanted to take, okay. This is basically the patience level, okay, which means let's say that if the patience level is 50, right? So what does that mean? It means that if somehow there is an interruption, okay, so it will just revert back at ping 50 times, okay. If it is not getting a good like connection, okay, or a good receiving signal, then it is going to stop it, right. Then again, so if you wanted to plot, so I'm just making plots equals to 2, okay, so that if I just like try to plot result dot plot, I hope you know the result dot plot, then you would able to plot the result into your image with the bounding box, okay. Okay, and now the device is basically MPS. So MPS is basically what? MPS is basically like I am running it into my Mac system, right? So it's basically, so I need to give the MPS. Suppose if you're running it in GPU, so you need to give CUDA, okay, or any GPU dependencies that you have, okay, and then these are my training phase, okay. So I know that up till line number 17 to line number 34, I definitely know that you won't be facing any error, okay. Now you just need to add few things, okay. The one in one terminal you have actually like initiated the MLflow server. Now what you need to do is that you need to give the server location here, okay. So this is basically you are actually like you wanted to give the MLflow tracing URI. What is tracing URI? So that these model that you are actually like training, right, so that has to be like saved as an experiment name of PPE detection training. So this is my experiment name, which I am actually like doing all these things, right. And this is basically the MLflow running library name, okay, which is like the YOLO V. Let's say that we are actually training on YOLO V8 model, right. This is why YOLO V8 PPE training, okay. You can actually try to give any other thing, okay. And then let me just give other thing. So let me just give YOLO V8, let's say testing, okay. And then let's say PPE detection training, PPE detection, let me give MLflow. Okay, so these two things I have already changed it, right. And then from the setting which I have imported it from the Ultralytics, so I have just wanted to make MLflow equals to true, so that my server could know that this the current code, right, which I am supposed to run for training phase, right. So it is connected, so it will going to connect to my local server, okay, so that which is running on this port. I hope you get it, right. So while training phase, whatever the things that I am training, it will going to store or send every information in my local server running at port 5000. That is why I'm just running like that is why I'm just like denoting these point here, right. And again the same thing, right, I am just printing it here, and let me just initiate the training so that you would able to get it, okay. So I'll just save it from now, right, and let me just initiate the training, which is like python.py, okay. So as you can see that simultaneously my training has started, but also you will see that all these things are getting captured and reflected on my MLflow server, so that I could able to know other detail as well, right? So let it first train. Okay, so I am just training it for 3 epochs, because just to show you that how MLflow is actually registering everything, right? So after training, let me again like come back to the same video, and I will let you know that how is it all reflecting, okay. So till now it is, as you can see, that it is basically training, okay. So let's wait. See, as you can see that this part, right, so this part is basically my new experiment has been created, which is like PPE detection MLflow. What does that mean? It means that, let's say, in the in the same file, if I could tell you, right, so this one, the PPE detection MLflow, which means that experiment by experiment, which means this is my, let's say, current environment. Okay, this is my current experiment name. Okay, on which I am training my .pt model. Okay, I have already, like, these are my .pt model. Okay, now what else do I need to do? Okay, so I need to give the experiment name. First of all, I need to give the experiment name. After the experiment name, I need to give the MLflow running environment name. Okay, why is it needed? Because currently it is actually running in this experiment only. Okay, next time if I train it, right, I can give some other experiment. Okay, next time if I train it, I can give some other experiment. In this way, I will be having a good registry over here. As you can see, for now for now this is the current, like, implementation which is like running. Okay, if you go to the YOLO V8 testing part, if I go to model matrices, so as you can see that this will keep on updating, right? This will keep on updating because it is training now, right? So it will keep on, like, updating. If I go back, if we see this part, right, so this has been, like, started 8 minutes ago. Okay, so let me come back to this after training, once the training is completed. Okay, so that you could actually better understand this thing. Okay, now let's see that whether my training has been completed. I think the training has been completed. Yes. So my training has been completed. Now let's revert back to the same server, the MLflow server, and check that what are the matrices that I'm getting. Again, so this is actually running in my local server 5000, right? Where my all those model will be in this experiment, which is like PPE detection MLflow. The experiment name, which I have already pre-decided before training, right? So this is my PPE detection, and if I go and see it here in the model matrices, so you will see now that these are the matrices that I will be getting. Okay, so what are the matrices that we are getting? We are getting some LR, like, then some other matrices. Okay, like the mean average precision, the recall while training. Okay, these are actually the bounding boxes loss, the class loss, another loss. While validation loss, we are actually getting, so there are so many things, right? So we are getting, and suppose system matrices, traces. Okay, and these are basically the artifacts, right? So if you could see, you can actually, like, try to download it here. Okay, so see how well, can you see the beauty of it, right? That how well it is, like, proposed. Okay, how well it is, like, proposed in experiment wise. Okay, see all these things, right? So you don't need to, like, create everything explicitly. Okay, these all these things, this graph and everything, so it's very helpful for anyone who wanted to like a very smooth switch while the model post training part, right? So MLflow is like a really interesting in that purpose, right? Because this I have just, like, train it for, let's say, by giving the experiment name at PPE detection MLflow, right? Now suppose that there is a requirement come in your team, right, where, let's say, that you get the data. Okay, you get the new data, and you want it, so if superior tells you that you want to, like, retrain your model. Okay, then of course you will be taking the last.pt file. Okay, and then you will be training on your own custom data. Okay, and you want to, like, give it some other experiment name. So let me just train it in that way also. I think that would be good, right? So in the experiment name, let me give this experiment name as, let's say, version 2. Okay, that, like, someone comes in your team and he wants you to do the retraining again, and then you wanted to, like, save it in version 2. So what you wanted to tell that, okay, you can actually do it because you have this registry part. Okay, then again you will again restart the training. Okay, so let me just restart the training. Now let's see what will happen. First, it is actually starting the MLflow server. Okay, now let's look back to this one. See, this is your version 2, this is your version 1. Okay, this is your earlier version, this is your version 2. So is it kind of something like a version control of your model, right? Where this is your, like, the last training phase reflection. Okay, and this is like your current training phase which is actually running. Okay, which is, like, currently in training, right? So in this way you will get so many things and so many variety of version control, post training version control as well. Okay, where you have a lot of model registries and other things, right, that will be present here. Okay, same like this one, right? So inside this, let's say that these are the runtime that you are given, right? So you can actually change the runtime as well. So let's say in the same environment I want to change the runtime, right? So I can basically train it, like, change it. How? Just go to this code and just you can just change the runtime. Okay, so, like, suppose in the you wanted to keep the previous version itself, but only you wanted to change the runtime, so you can basically change the runtime, and for each runtime you will be having a different artifacts. Okay, so in this way you can basically like try to see the model in a very clean way. Okay, so that you could possibly know that what are the other things. Okay, because it is still in training phase, so it will keep on updating, right? So this is like the main agenda of showing you the ML flow part. Okay, that how everything is getting like crisp and concise way, right? And that I don't need to like confine myself to do any extra unnecessary things, right? So I don't need to like create an extra pipeline just to manage everything. Okay, all these things getting managed by the ML flow itself. So I know you get the basic idea about the ML flow part, that how to integrate it into the code using the Ultralytics repository, because Ultralytics has done so many phenomenal changes in when it comes to the integration of ML flow. Okay, so it's nothing. Again, I will just reiterate to the code so that you would know by yourself, right? See, this part of the code you already knew it, right? That how to basically custom train your model. You just need to add you just need to start one ML flow server in your backend in the other terminal to the same environment. Just open the other environment. Okay, give the artifact, or let's say the experiment name and the runtime name of the experiment of your choice. Okay, running in this ML flow server, and then you start training as it is. Okay, and then all this training keeps on recording in your predefined experiment name. Okay, if you wanted to change it, you can actually change it, so that next time if you do the training part, it will going to record in the some other experiment. Okay, so in this way you will do lot of hands-on demo on this ML flow. Okay, and you can actually like have a very clean way of storing the artifacts. Okay, so yeah, so the next video which I'm supposed to tell, okay, so that will be mostly related to WanDB. So WanDB is also doing the same thing, but I preferably choose WanDB because it may have a lot of different graphs and other phases. Okay, so you can choose by your own choice. So let me again go again to the WanDB, and then at last I will tell you in the conclusion section that when to use which one, like when to use what. Okay.